Welcome to another edition of Unconventional Playbook. And look who I got in the house. Look who I've got in the house. What did LL Cool J say? Don't call it a comeback. This man has been here for years. We've got the Minnesota sports guru, Mr. Patrick Buchanan, is back in the house to talk a little bit of Minnesota Vikings offseason. We got some catching up to do in that department. And with training camp starting this week, fans get to come to the Minnesota Vikings headquarters starting on Saturday. We just got lots of things to talk about. But I just want to welcome back Mr. Patrick Buchanan. Pat, how you doing, man?
Man, it's doing good. Great to be back, right, at Unconventional. Like, it's, maybe I disappear doing, when football is over and things, and then I reappear. Like, this is the time to reappear, man. We've been waiting for it. I heard somebody with an interview the other day. They was like, yeah, we was working out. What was y'all doing for the last month when nothing else to do? Now something to do because training camp back,
That's right. That's right.
So, I mean, I'm not, I don't dabble in baseball and the WNBA, but this is it. Like, this is what it's, this is America's sport right here. Like, this is it, football.
Yeah, this is what it's all about. But before we get started, please hit that like and subscribe button. It only takes a second. Just look down there, hit that like button. Keep us in the algorithm so we can continue to pump out the content that we continue to pump out. Well, Pat, I guess the first, subject of conversation is, a conversation that maybe people get exhausted with talking about. I've heard some kickback from people talking about Coach. Why you always talking about J.J. McCarthy, man? We got to get on another subject. J.J. McCarthy hasn't even played a game yet, and people are looking at him as a bona fide top 10, make him prove himself a little bit. Look, listen, man, I have no shame, Pat. I have no shame about talking about J.J. McCarthy. Keep in mind, he is the highest drafted quarterback in Minnesota Vikings history. And he seems to be the type of young man that is the total package. He's good in front of a podium. He's good in front of reporters. The small sample size that we saw of J.J. McCarthy last year in the preseason game, what did he do? He lit it up. And here's the thing. When he lit it up, he threw an interception early. So for that young man to come back in that preseason game, man, and have the game that he had after throwing an interception was just box office to me. But everybody's saying, that was a preseason game. Let him get his feet wet. Well, now it's time. So what I want to do, man, is pick your brain on your thoughts about J.J. McCarthy. I know you don't have a lot of video. I know we don't have a lot of video, but I know you know the game of football. You've coached it. You've watched it for years. You've seen what makes quarterbacks really successful in this league. So do you think J.J. McCarthy has the makeup to carry this franchise on his shoulders and eventually become an elite quarterback?
Man, that's whoever talks about why we keep talking about it. Like, if you pull up, Good Morning Football, right? They talking about it, right?
They talking about it.
ESPN, they talking about it. NFL Network, wherever, they are talking about it because we probably have the most complete team in the entire
Absolutely.
NFL with a question mark at a quarterback. And the only reason it's a question mark is because he hasn't taken a regular season snap. But with all that being said, if you listen to Josh McCown and you listen to KOC, what they did for him last year, right above the neck, it was like he didn't have a rookie season. Yeah, physically he didn't get out there to throw it, right? But above the neck is where they challenged him and strengthened him at, right? And then, he got bigger, right? Everybody's looking at him on the sideline. My man gained his weight back and looked swole, right? Looked massively big, but he has, all I continuously hear is leadership, that he's confident in the huddles, right? He's confident calling plays. He's confident throwing the ball. He's got a zip on the ball. Even B-Flow talking about the zip that he has on the ball. And he has all these things around him, right? So if you ask yourself, all the successful quarterbacks under KLC are over 500. They're successful, right? So why couldn't this guy who's a winner, right, 27-1 as a college, right? He can't do it as well. I don't know what everybody's like. Why wouldn't you want to talk about it? Quarterback is the number one position on the football. That's everyone. We're going to talk about the quarterback first. We're not going to talk about the wide receiver or kicker or the center, or the D. It is the quarterback. That is the makeup of a team. Something that brings me the most confidence when it comes to JJ and just believing he can do it. First, before I tell you what gives me the most, remember when he got that injury, and I said that was a blessing, that it wasn't his time yet. It is his time now.
It was Sam Darnold's time.
Yep, it was Sam's time, right? And Sam went and got his bag, right? About 2 months ago, happened to run into Aaron Jones, right? And, first and foremost, that's my first time ever meeting Aaron Jones. And he made me feel old because it was yes, sir, this, sir.
Yeah.
And
I heard he's a great guy.
I tipped my hat off to how he was raised. Like, it was sir looking me in the eye. And I'm like, man, I may be like a couple of 10 years or so older than you, 15 years older than you, but sir,
we getting old, Pat.
We getting old, man, because he made me feel, I was like, hey, calling me sir. But having a conversation with him, and it was an interesting conversation, and I really wanted to ask him about him and Jordan Mason, but also what he thought of JJ. And he said, man, he ready. He said, I'm going to tell you how much he ready. You never see him without about 4 coaches around him all the time.
He sponge.
Is being prepped all the time. He says, if you look, there's 4 coaches always, no matter where he's at in the building or whatever, they are around him and he is ready. And he's an Aaron Rodgers, like he's a fan of Aaron Rodgers, right? He would have loved it. If this spring didn't go, they would have jumped on the Aaron Rodgers thing, right?
Yeah.
If this spring didn't look good through all the OTAs and mini camps, if it didn't look good, they would have been jumping the ship. If it didn't look good, this extended, Kwesi would have been trying to go get a quarterback. Like they in KOC, it's like in the book, Caleb Williams, right after his interview with Minnesota, he wanted to be a Viking.
Yeah.
Because KOC, right?
Yes, the culture.
Him and Josh McCown have played in the league. And they always talk about organizations fail quarterbacks, not quarterbacks failing organizations. They understand that they're not going to fail this young man. So we can talk about him. I want to see the product on the field. But listen, if they lean on the run early and it's more, we playing more, 60-40 run, 50-50, then they're setting it up so that we can move towards a more 60-40 form. But the more balanced form, the better. They solidified the offensive line for him. They solidified the defense for him. Like, they upgraded everywhere they needed to. Like, who else is walking into this as a rookie?
Yeah. Well, the big concern, the big concern about JJ McCarthy, and I get tired of this, man, to exhaustion. People keep talking about what his role was at Michigan. He didn't throw the ball enough. And the reason why he didn't throw the ball enough is because he can't throw the ball. He doesn't come from a passing system. And I remember JJ McCarthy was on, I believe it was the Rich Eisen show. And Rich Eisen asked him that question. And JJ McCarthy answered the question better than I think anybody could have answered the question when Rich Eisen said, hey, man, you don't come from a throwing program. You handed the ball off a lot. People say that doesn't translate to the NFL. And he says, man, I'm a soldier. My general told me this is what we needed to do to be successful. That has nothing to do with my ability to be able to throw the ball. And I think since he's been with the Minnesota Vikings, whether it's practices, joint practices, the one exhibition game that he played in, he has shown that he can throw the ball. Did you see the bomb he threw to Jordan Addison yesterday in practice?
Yeah.
So to me, that gets rid of all the naysayers out there that says he has a limp arm, that he doesn't have zip on the ball. Like you said, you brought it up. B-Flow talked about his zip on the ball. This young man can throw the football. So any narrative out there that says that he can't or that he has a weak arm is just a bad take. It's a bad take, or you're a liar, or you're a hater trying to make JJ McCarthy look bad. And I thought you said it best. During the offseason, They could have re-signed Sam Darnold. They could have offered Daniel Jones a bag to be the next quarterback here. They turned down a first ballot Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers. Why did they do that? Why did the Minnesota Vikings do that? They did that. They could have brought in Joe Flacco. They did that because I trust KOC and his credit is good with me. And he has seen something in that young man, JJ McCarthy, that says, I got confidence in him and he's ready. So all the naysayers out there that's worried about JJ McCarthy, it's just right now, man, it's something that I'm not worried about. He essentially is a rookie and he's going to have to cut his teeth a little bit. He's going to make some mistakes, but long term, I think the Minnesota Vikings have found their answer in terms of a franchise quarterback, no doubt. No doubt, Pat.
Yeah, no doubt that they have. But I I'm not gonna say much, right? Like I said, every quarterback under KOC has been over 500. No quarterback has been under 500 under center as a starter, not one, right? In his tenure here in Minnesota, he has all the winning traits. Number one, he's a winner. He's a leader. He blows them away with things. He's a studier. He's doing all the things that he has to. But the one thing that outside, I mean, think about this, man. How many quarterbacks out there, like, you look at the success that Jaden McDaniels had in his first year, CJ Stroud had in his first year, the rookies that had, but Bo Nix had, none of them got the weapons around them. And you can say they all got good coaching. So he has that and he has all these weapons. But I will say this, that he goes up against every day is challenged with B-Flow's defense that is throwing stuff to make him better. Every single day he's being prepped. So let's rewind 365 days. Sam Darnold. What do we know of Sam Darnold? Let's be honest. What do we know of Sam Darnold? And then what happened? Like the magician of KOC came to fruition.
The quarterback whisperer. The quarterback whisperer.
So for you not to believe in JJ McCarthy and for them to be giving him the ball, right, as the QB1, then that means you're not believing in KOC and the coaching staff. Like that's where, if anybody is saying that, then you need to tag KOC on top of that. And how can you say that with the coach of the year? I just want somebody to tell me that, because you can't say one name without saying the other.
Right. But Pat, here's the dilemma, because I agree with you 1,000%. But I've been talking about this on the show for the past couple of weeks, and I've gotten a couple of answers from UP Nation out there, Purple Gang, Skull Nation. I want to hit you with this. You're the coach of the Minnesota Vikings. You've got this prized possession in JJ McCarthy, right? You know he's your franchise guy. You feel confident about him going forward. He's coming off a knee injury. So now you got these joint practices. You got these preseason games. You know that he's going to get reps in those joint practices. But those joint practices are more like controlled scrimmages. Like you and I have coached long enough where we know we can put people in certain situations. They can kind of dictate what that scrimmage looked like. Knowing that JJ McCarthy, basically, I don't want to call him the Minnesota Vikings season, but he is really important to the success of the team going forward this season. How much do you play him in the preseason? Like he obviously needs reps, but you don't want to put him out there and have something happen to him. Keep in mind, he got hurt in the preseason game last year. So how much?
KOC's probably skeptic of it, but I'm pretty sure he put Darnold out there for a series, right? Last year. I believe that in one of the games, or if not, he'll get him a series or two. And that's all he needs to have. Right. Those joint practices are better than the practice, like better than what people think they are.
Okay.
He's going to be ready. Like it's one of them things where you just, as a coach, like why sometimes you done seen enough stuff in practice or in what you guys are doing in your gym, your locker room, your whatever on the field, you see it and you can be like, you know what? I'm gonna hold on to this, right? He's good. He got, like, you can tell if someone can't play versus a top 10 defense in the league, right? Yeah, you know if they're sacked or not in it. They might have a red jersey, but you know if they can play every single day versus that top 10, like 30 some days, right? Or 40, how many ever days you got training camp? You had all 9 weeks, 8, 9 weeks of spring stuff. Now you got training camp, which is about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You telling me you could, I guess a coach, like coach, if you never had a scrimmage, but you had your best defensive player, right, guarding your guard or shooting guard, and they was giving them work, and this is an all conference defensive player, right?
Yep.
And they never go up against somebody else, but you see them every day against them, and they're giving them work. You don't have to put them, like it doesn't, like for people to sit and they haven't played a game. Yeah, they haven't played a game. But when they draft people, they've never played a game.
Right.
When you draft someone, they've never played a game. The man played his last time of playing a real game, not a preseason, was on the national stage with every spotlight on him.
Yep. That's a
as
good
the
point.
quarterback.
Yep.
As
That's a
the
good point.
quarterback.
Yep.
With the spotlight. His first 2 games will be national televised game this year, and that's going to show a lot. Versus Chicago, then Atlanta. It's going to show us a lot.
And here's the deal, Pat. Here's what flies under the radar that most people aren't talking about. His situation with the Minnesota Vikings is a little bit different. You want to know why? Because every day in practice, he's got to go up against Dr. Blitzenstein, Brian Flores. And that's like taking calculus and trigonometry every day as a quarterback. So he's not, listen, man, he's not going to see anything like that. I mean, there are some good defensive coordinators out there. I'm not trying to disparage them at all, but he's not going to see anything out there in real games that is going to make him feel uncomfortable because he gets to see B-flow every day in practice.
Every single day. And they done enhanced that defensive line. So now they're going to be coming at you. So how are you going to tuck it and run in your reads, right? Get into your reads quick. But here's something else that they gave him. They gave him a Pro Bowl center.
Yes, sir.
They gave the man a Pro Bowl center who he is got a locker by, they've been connecting since they've been here. And he's been challenging him as well, where he's not making all the calls at the line just to see what JJ sees, right? So he's been challenging him as well. You have a Pro Bowl center in Kelly, right? And you all like everything, like me and my buddy was talking, and he was like, man, because we were talking about like what Philly has lost, right?
Yeah.
And the players they've lost, what we gained, what Detroit has lost in their coordinators, right?
That's gonna be tough.
That's tough. Like no matter what people say, you lose coaching. These guys can't go out and play for themselves. People that have never play call before, right?
It matters.
Gonna be now, like, come on, man. You lose that, you might take a back seat. So you look at all these teams. He said, man, why can the Vikings get there this year, right? And I said, maybe, but maybe not, because they set up everything as a 3-year plan. Everyone that is major is signed through that time that they need to be.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-year. Even if he goes through it and makes the playoff this year, he's been through a season. But if not, maybe he pulls off what Patrick Mahomes did. In his first year starting, but second year, who knows? All I know is that I have not heard anybody say anything truly negative or coming from inside those 4 walls, a TCO. People that have been around them, even people that have left, can't say the negative thing, because you can't say it when you're talking about a champion. And you're talking about someone who grinds. He's a grinder, and he's doing like I listen. Give people the benefit. Like if we all gave, if you had to jump on Sam Darnold's bandwagon, that's fine. But like I say, until they prove us wrong, like that they don't deserve it, then let's sit back and enjoy this. Why throw scrutiny into it? If you don't believe KOC and Kwesi are smart, then where the hell have you been for the last, 4 years?
Yeah.
Where have you been?
Well, I think part of it is, Patrick, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the national media has a lot of hate for the Vikings. The Vikings are not a big market teams. But when it comes to the national media, man, the Colin Cowherds and the First Take guys and
Yeah, but
you know,
see, those guys right there are horrible. Like Colin is an idiot, right?
yep,
I'm gonna just say it. Colin's an idiot. First Take, I'm not listening to you. Where I'm
yeah,
going to is the NFL Network, Good Morning Football, people that have been in the trenches, who have played, who understand the game of football.
yeah. I
Like,
I don't listen to any of the. I honestly, I listen to the great Minnesota Viking content creators out there. I listen to the local media out there, and I think with Minnesota Viking fans, it's almost like it is in Cleveland. Me being a Cleveland Browns fan, I think there's a level of skepticism because the Minnesota Vikings, and this is true, people don't want to admit it, they've never seen a Super Bowl team get built. So I always come back and say that once the Super Bowl team starts to get built, most Minnesota Viking fans won't be able to recognize it anyway. So therein lies the skepticism. Patrick Buchanan, what I am feeling from the Minnesota Vikings when I look at KOC and what he's trying to do with this team, and when I look at who I thought should have been the executive of the year, Mr. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. I know people criticize his draft picks, but I thought he had a stellar draft this past draft. And what he's done in back-to-back off seasons in terms of free agency, man, this is smelling like something that can be really special. J.J. McCarthy's got a hit. And I am positive that within the next 3 years, J.J. McCarthy is going to hit, and the Minnesota Vikings, man, they're sitting on something special, Pat. I know I smell it, and I know you smell it. I just think that there's a lot of people that are just, when you talk about the Minnesota Vikings at that level, people get really skeptical. And they're going to be, oh, well, you're going to have to show me. Well, obviously they will have to show you, but I think it's right around the corner for the Minnesota Vikings.
it's hands down right around. I mean, when you do the things that you did last year with free agency and the draft pick and undrafted free agents that hit for us, right? And then you have a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're moving in, but then you don't get comfortable and you go and you grab 5 more defensive players, right? You go and you get J.A. Jonathan Allen Hargrave. You go get Rodgers, who's a Super Bowl winner. You bring back Wilson over here, and then you get Jeff, the other cornerback,
Jeff Okudah.
yeah. So you bring those back in the mix on defense. Then you go to the offensive side and you say, well, let me go get Jordan Mason because that's a bad boy, right? Let me sit out here. Let me go get Fries and Kelly up front and then draft Donovan, right? Get rid of the other stuff, and then let's go get a bona fide wide receiver out there that can do some things on special teams for us, as well as probably end up as our number 4 wide receiver. You do stuff like that. Then you say, let me go get another quarterback who's been a starter and let me bring him in as the backup because under us, we really make you successful and he can be a great backup for him. He's been in the league a couple of years, Sam Howell, right? And do things. So all I'm saying is the man is pretty smart. But I think even that, an addition by the man not getting a head coaching job is B-Flow. Like that is, I don't think he will audition in the next couple of years because he sees what they're building. And then they talk about the organization, where we rank, like they grade our organizations, all the organizations, and we're high graded and people keep talking about the culture. They're building it. And these are the type of teams that you talk about when it comes to Super Bowl. Now, don't get me wrong. These 14 win, 12 win, 11 wins, playoff teams are fantastic. If I'm not mistaken, KOC is 0-2 in the playoffs. We got to get a win. You got to get just one playoff win to start it. And that's where it can build from. We got to win when it counts, right? The regular season is fantastic. I love the wins, but when it counts. But then this is where I backtrack to JJ. He's won. He knows what it's like to win a
Championship
national
DNA.
dang championship. That's
Yep.
the highest level before a Super Bowl that you could possibly win as a natty, right? Am I right or wrong? What's the highest you can win bigger than the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Yeah. National championship. National championship. And Pat, I'm glad you brought that up because people laugh at me, when I talk about his championship DNA. He won a state championship at IMG Academy. That's what people laugh at. But he also won a national championship at IMG Academy. And then he went to the Michigan Wolverines. And I hate this because this broke my heart, but he beat my Buckeyes. He ended a losing streak that Michigan had for my Buckeyes. So he did that. And then he went and won a national championship at Michigan, where a few years earlier, what were they trying to do? They were trying to run Harbaugh out of town. JJ McCarthy fixed that. He is the ointment to teams that are struggling, and he makes them successful, man. So he's got what it takes. And Pat, here's the thing, man, that I want to jump on with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and KOC because I think a lot of people don't see it. I think what KOC has done the last 3 years when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings team, that's not KOC. That's not KOC. KOC has done what it takes to win, but I don't think the last 3 years is indicative of how KOC wants to play. He's telling you how he wants to play with that revamped offensive line and bringing in Jordan Mason. The Minnesota Vikings, all the talk is about JJ McCarthy, but they are going to run the football this year more than they have ever run the football. And guess what? They are going to control time of possession. And the reason why time of possession is so important is because now you get limited possessions against B-Flow's defense. Like, if I'm playing B-Flow's defense, I want as many bites at the apple as I possibly can get because I know I'm going to need it to try to score against that. Now, if you got a team on offense that is clutch on third down, which J.J. McCarthy is, you're going to have a stout running game, so now the play-action pass is going to come into play. You're going to stay on schedule because now you can run the ball with the two-headed monster, Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones. Man, people don't understand what's coming. They have no idea what's coming from the Minnesota Vikings. And KOC is telling you by the players that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah brought in this offseason.
Hands down, right? In the trenches, right? In the trenches, got taken care of. Oliver got re-signed, right? Extended. Mason is a physical back, right?
He's a beast.
He's a very physical back. And maybe they might take a playbook out of Harbaugh, how they played the game in Michigan, even if it's 50-50, right? Think about this. Early on, what are you going to do as a defense, right? Early on, you see in the Vikings, you're thinking about Hawkinson, Jets, and Addison. Like, you're thinking about, like, that's in your brain. So you can't bring 8 in the box.
You can if you want. You can if you want to, but you're going to get beat.
I don't think nobody's that dumb, right? Because you got to send 2 over the top to Justin, and then so now they spread you out, and then you got these hogs up front, and they're pounding, and now when you bring them in the box, that's when they hit you over the top. And you're right. I believe that they're going to play a certain way early on. I believe after we get back from overseas in that bye week, you're going to see it opened up a little bit more. But I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't be shocked if there are series where he is opening it up and saying, I'm not about to keep him on a leash when I already seen what he can do. But I do believe that we're going to pound that rock. I told you a couple of months ago I got to run in Aaron Jones, and I said, man, how you feel the season's gonna be though? He said, I'm gonna have a career year. He said, those are his exact words, right? Aaron, you can interject anytime to anywhere if you pay attention, but his exact words that I'm gonna have a career year. And that's belief in whatever KOC is doing. The additions that they brought in, how Mason will complement him, Donovan, Fries, and Kelly are gonna help that up front, and having, Darisaw back, healthy. And bringing O'Neal back. That's just, and Brendale coming back like that. They got their guys up front, man.
Yep.
And they're going to do what they do.
I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, I know a lot of people are getting, Kelly's getting pub, Will Fry's getting pub. You got O'Neal with the right tackle spot. You got Christian Darrisaw, but they drafted a young man from Ohio State, Mr. Jackson, and I thought it was a great pick. A lot of people didn't know a whole lot about him because I pay attention to the Buckeyes. I know who he is. And the great thing about Mr. Jackson is that he is very versatile. And I thought part of them drafting him was because they really didn't know if Christian Darrisaw was going to be ready at the start of the season. As we know, he is a left guard, but he moved to left tackle for the Buckeyes because they had an injury. So it showed that he had a lot of versatility. This dude is a monster, and I know he's a rookie. He got to prove himself, but he is instantly going to make that offensive line better. Give me your thoughts about Donovan Jackson.
Well, here's back to back in the first round. You had 3 picks in back to back years, and if you notice all his picks, if you notice, there's 2 conferences Kwesi is eating up. And that's
I know what you're about to say.
And that's the SEC.
Yes, sir.
He has been eating up. And we haven't seen this as Vikings fans. I want y'all to go back to think, when has the Big Ten, because these are the 2 powerhouses, and the SEC, where we have drafted those type of players? We haven't, except under the Kwesi era. Like if you look at go by round, Big Ten, SEC, it's all over the Minnesota Vikings. So back to back, you bring in national champions on the offensive side. You bring in
I know how to do
McCarthy.
it.
Now you bring in Donovan, who's a national champion, right? And who's versatile. I mean, the kid was able to just switch out to the left, right?
That's not easy, Pat.
No.
That's not easy.
And I love when we're able to intelligence. Right. I think Kwesi's probably one of the most intelligent GMs in the entire. If you listen to him, he's very articulate in his speaking. I love just listening to him because he's so articulate, such a smart guy. If you listen to Donovan, like when I saw Donovan's first interview,
I know what you're about to say.
I said, has he been in the league 10 years? Like, I was blown away. I was like, he's way mature than most rookies fumbling what they want to say. But this man, it was confidence. Besides like maturity and wisdom, like he had all these things that you expect a veteran to have and the veteran to speak of. He blew me away, and that's when I was like, whoa, I was flowing like this in his first ever press conference.
Right.
And I said, this ain't no rookie. I said, oh, that's one. Hey, and he a champion. So that right there, just, I believe like his size, his experience in college, winning a national, what's the highest level you can win before a Super Bowl is a national championship. That's the reality. He's been a part of that. He knows what winning culture looks like. He may not be older than others, but he still brings leadership qualities into that already well thought out locker room. Thought out locker room of professional guys in that locker room.
Yeah. So the moves that Kwesi has made have been really, really stellar in my opinion, man. And I know, people are still out on him in terms of draft picks. They're saying that this draft has got to hit, but there's one draft player that he's drafted that's really got to hit this year, and I think it's Dallas Turner. Like, I think we got to see something from Dallas. I was on my guy Rap show. For those of you who don't know Rap, check out his show, Vocal Vike. He's one of the best Minnesota Viking content creators out there. Rap said something on his show when I was on there where he was like, man, I think Dallas Turner is going to play a little bit of linebacker this year. Can I see that? And I think when you look at Dallas Turner, I think they're going to use him in that front seven like they used Josh Metellus in the secondary. I think he's going to be sometimes in that NASCAR formation, as B-Flow likes to call it. I think he's going to play some D-tack. He's obviously going to play some edge rushing positions. He's going to be a drop back in coverage guy. I think his versatility is really going to show this year because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to be really interested in your take. If he is primarily an edge rusher this year going forward, I don't think he's going to get a lot of time. I mean, how do you take Jonathan Grenard off the field? How do you take Van Ginkel off the field? Like, those guys are bona fide producers unless they just fall off. I think you're going to have to move those three around. So now when you're a quarterback and you step up to that line, you're like, okay, I'm checking things off. Where's Dallas Turner? So I think that's going to be the experiment during the preseason, during these joint practices, where I think B-Flow's going to play with that front seven a little bit. And keep in mind, that front seven was just named preseason probably going to be the best front seven in the NFL.
Number
And
one.
part of, number one. And
Number
part of that is going to be, where's Dallas Turner? What are your thoughts about Dallas Turner? How do you think he's going to be used in the Minnesota Vikings defense this year?
I think that you're going to end up with 3 double-digit sack players, with DT being one of them.
Yes, sir.
And you have to. Don't be. Dallas Turner got bigger, faster, stronger on his own. He did everything he was supposed to. He's a rookie. He was playing behind 2 Pro Bowlers.
Yes, sir. That's right.
So anybody to say that he had a failure first year with having, I think, maybe 4 sacks, whatever, and he played behind 2 Pro Bowlers. So obviously, I think we have a mad genius at defense, right, in B-Flow. So if you think about it, this is a lineup you'll see a lot of, where it's Allen, Phillips, and Hargrove. JG, Gink, Cashman, Dallas Turner. Do not be shocked when you see that front seven. But then they can take 2 of those 3 or 1 of those 3 out up front and bring pace in. And it changes things as well. Like, they have a rotation about between the linebackers and the front. Like, they all linebackers and defensive line. Like, if you ask, they got probably 10 guys that they can rotate. But do not be shocked when you see, when it's nuts and bolts time, Dallas Turner out there with that front seven. He will, like I said, I believe he'll have a double-digit year. You got to go through and learn, man. Like, how do you grade a rookie off of 1 year and then playing behind Pro Bowlers? What you do is if you're a good coach, you find ways to get your playmakers on the field to make plays. You find a way to dial up plays for them to get loose. That either side of the ball. Like I say, I believe we'll have 3 double-digit sackers. And I think that he's going to turn a lot of heads because now he has played the game. He knows the speed. He's bigger. He's faster. He's stronger. He understands where he needs to be. He is a SAC. He's an Alabama kid, but he's been in this. Now he's a veteran compared to some of the newcomers, right? Like Kobe coming from Penn State, right? Another linebacker. Like, I'm a veteran in this. I can help you. Here's the process I had to go through. And he's smart and he's trying to pick it up. And I think Dallas is fine. Like, I don't think that's fair in 1 year to question where he's at. He'll be fine. I think we're just going to see a lot more of him on the field than we did last year, which you didn't need him. Like, if we didn't have a Gink and a JG, he probably would have been out there a lot more.
He would have been out there a lot more.
Right?
That's easy to say. Yeah, he would have been out there a lot more.
And it would have been trial by error, but they didn't need him out there. Now they're saying, okay, we traded up for him. How do we get him out there to get 75, 80% of snaps now? And I think that's what you're going to see, where his snap rate is high and you're going to see playmaking.
Yeah. Dallas Turner's going to be okay.
Dallas Turner going to have the sacks, but I'm going to tell you this right now. Dallas Turner will have at least 2 interceptions as well.
I believe that.
I would not be shocked if he has a pick 6 this year. I would not be shocked if that defense is number 1 in takeaways in the NFL this year.
Yep. The criticism that comes with Dallas Turner, 2 things. Number 1, they moved up to get him. They traded an asset to get him. And outside of that, I don't think anybody expected Gink and Grenard to hit like they hit. So I think you make a great point. If those guys didn't have all-star caliber seasons, I think we would have seen Dallas Turner a whole lot more. So, to me, as a fan that watched the Vikings, that's not an indictment on Dallas Turner. Like, you are not going to, and honestly, I don't even think if you were to ask KOC and B-Flow and you can inject them full of truth serum, they would probably tell you that they didn't expect Gink and Grenard to hit like they hit either. That's why they drafted a guy like Dallas Turner. But once those guys hit, man, you're not taking those guys off the field, Pat.
Oh, good
This is why I don't understand people out there talking about, oh, we need to see more Dallas Turner. I was cool last year with Grenard and Gink being out there. The young man can wait. He's going to have his time, but his time wasn't last year.
It's kind of like JJ's first round picks weren't their time,
Yeah.
But it's their time this year.
Absolutely.
It's their time. It's go time. Like, it is both of their time. And once again, if you're questioning him and he wasn't out there much, then are you really questioning Brian Flores and Kwesi and KOC of the decisions that they make? Like, if you questioning that, then what were you watching? Like, and sometimes people have tunnel vision, tunnel thoughts without seeing things as a whole. I love that you and I get to chat on here because we see things as a whole because we understand, because we coach, right? And no matter what sport you coach, you understand how things are a team sport and they're not. This isn't tennis or golf where we can talk about just individuals as it's the supporting cast and it's the support around it, right? And if you have to play behind Pro Bowlers, don't expect certain things, right? Let's just say JJ didn't get injured last year and Donald was playing that way. Would we be saying that's a failure on JJ McCarthy because Sam Darnold had a Pro Bowl year? No. Like, the man had a Pro Bowl year. He couldn't get in the game.
Yep.
So like there's this, I don't get it. I don't understand. Sometimes, I get it. Like, you want to, I'd rather it be framed this way. I'm excited, or I'm curious to see what the next step, next level is for Dallas Turner. I think that's a good way to phrase it. I'm excited, or I challenge him to take another step forward, right? Instead of he didn't perform, he underperformed or something. Like, he did something wrong that you had two people that was performing at the highest level. Like, you can't name, it's 32 teams. You can't name 32 linebackers that were better or edge rushers that were better than Gink and JG. You can't name 32 of them. You probably can't name 20. So but I get the understanding that you want to see more because you did give up assets to move up to get that first round pick. That 100%. But I think that's like, if this year we don't see nothing, then I'm all about it. Cause then I'm not even going, I would question, but I'm saying this out loud. I know what we're going to see. But if somehow this miracle is like being hit by lightning happened, I would question either him or B-Flow. Why haven't we found ways to get him on there? But I don't think that's in the air.
And this is why I think he is going to move around a lot, because I'm here to tell you, people, Jonathan Grenard can ball. Andrew Van Ginkel can ball. If they slot in Dallas Turner as only an edge rusher, I don't know how many reps he's going to get as long as those two guys are on this team for 2025. So they're going to have to find a way to engage him in other areas of that defense. And I think B-Flow is smart enough to do that. He has shown that he can use guys in various ways. The one guy that keeps his name, Pat, keeps popping up. One of my favorite shows when I was a little kid was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Mr. Rogers used to come home on his lunch break and change his clothes and feed the fish and do all that stuff. Isaiah Rogers' name keeps coming up in that secondary in minicamp and OTAs, and now it's training camp. B-Flow loves him, and when B-Flow loves somebody, I can't wait to see him play. You brought it up earlier. He's got championship DNA now. He's a Super Bowl champion, and he's versatile. They're even talking about him playing special teams. I don't know if I would put him back there to return kicks as your number 2 cornerback. I think he is going to outshine Byron Murphy this year. I just got a sneaky feeling about this young man. What have you heard? What have you seen about Isaiah Rodgers? What are your thoughts about how he's going to impact his team?
I think that number one, I think it's a fantastic pickup, right? I think him and B-Flow have that UMass connection, so
Yep.
that's part of it. He's done had his eye on him for a while. It's analytics, and if you go and you look at, like, I love to look up PPFs, and I love looking up different things. When people say it, well, let me go and check it, right? And let's go check what the catch rate is, versus them when they're out there. So he was a person who is always like having that third corner or whatever that come in and you don't play. You might get 40% of snaps. Okay, if you have 40% of snaps, what is your percentage out there of defending? What did you give up against that? And he is rated very high at that. Whereas with the Eagles or the Colts, but he's never been a full-time starter. So here's his opportunity. And the opportunity to play as a full-time starter in this system that B-Flow has, he's very smart. He's fast. He's got the wheels. He's got the hips to turn, but he doesn't get beat over the top, right? You're not beating Rodgers over the top. That's just not going to happen. He studies, he reads, he understands how routes are run, right? So that he isn't beat on jumping routes, right? Gambling, whatever you want to call it. He's intelligent, and this is just, it's opportunity. You look at certain people, and opportunity has to present itself. And right now, opportunity is about to present itself. So here's a way that he can be he is used to being in a system where your front seven can do a lot of work for you. So now on the back end, you have to. Well, he just came from that, because last year, Philadelphia Eagles had the best front seven in all of football, right? We know that. And now we are, on paper, right now, we got to get out there and have the best front seven. He adds to part of that. And bringing that DNA with him. He's a young guy. I just think that we let some go. We got some at a quality rate, and now he's going to get a chance to get out there and shine. When he's on the field, he's productive. Now is what can you do when you're on the field now 90% of the time, right? And that's okay. 40% we have that stats, 90%. How does that translate? And if it translate like it did with the sample size that we had, then I think he's going to be phenomenal. And he's got guys that understand the system, where I think, like you said, JG might be doing not JG, but Dallas Turner might be doing more of what Martellus is. Well, yeah, Martellus was originally a safety. He goes back there with Harrison, right? You got Murphy on the other side. You got three guys that understand where to be, right, in it. So then your front seven can do whatever. I think that it's smart. It's just smart to bring someone in like that. And it was cheaper than what we had to pay, buying them. So
Yeah. This is Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. We got sports guru Mr. Patrick Buchanan making his return to Unconventional Playbook, giving us some good takes, giving us some good stuff. See, this is why I like having you on the show, Pat, because what people don't know, longtime listeners like Sarah and Two-Tone, who are out there probably listening right now, they all know that you are like E.F. Hutton, man. When Patrick Buchanan talks, everybody listens. You were last year when we did the preseason show and we were trying to come up with how many wins and losses the Minnesota Vikings were going to have. You were one of the few content creators that I heard out there that said the Minnesota Vikings were going to have double-digit wins. You foresaw the season that they had last year, and you were like, B-Flow's defense is going to dictate how good of a season we had. You also told a story about running into Harrison Smith a couple of years ago, and he was like, man, if we had B-Flow the previous year, we probably could have done some things in the playoffs. And you said Harrison Smith not going anywhere because he loves B-Flow. Harrison Smith is still on this football team. So a lot of the things that you have said over the past couple of years has come to pass. So I'm going to ask you this, because this is a very important question. Minnesota Vikings, UP Nation, Purple Gang, Skull Nation out there listening right now. We lost Cam Bynum, and we essentially gave the keys to the safety spot to Theo Jackson. How big of a loss? Because I know what I think, but how big of a loss is Cam Bynum going to be to this defense and having Theo Jackson replace him in that secondary?
It's his time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's like Theo's been there in the Theo has been in this system. Theo knows that from inside and out. And a lot of people aren't talking about him. And it is his time. It's you don't let that go unless you know.
Yeah.
Kind of like Sam Darnold.
Yep.
You don't let that go unless you know. You don't let that go unless you know. I mean, with a team that still got, what, $20-some million on the books, you don't let that go unless you know. Theo is smart, and he has just been waiting in his, here it is. He's like Rodgers. Small sample size, very productive, right? But now you're going to scoop that out to a bigger, and that's just, with both of them, that's what you're doing, right? You're taking the small sample and how they expand it. The small sample of Dallas Turner, and you're expanding it, right? So that's all you're doing is expanding these roles to bigger percentages, expecting for close to the same production that you were getting before. Like the award is like, I always knew that they had multiple safeties back then. Like I was like, man, they got like so fast safeties, right? Theo's been waiting for this. Theo's been waiting for this. He knows this system. Theo's just been waiting, and it's just his time, right? And that happens in football. That just, or basketball, it happens where it's that next person's time and they shine. But I'll say this: we talk about all the things that the offense has surrounded JJ McCarthy. Well, look at what they surrounded on the defense to for Theo and Rodgers to be in these situations, right? Look at what they're surrounded. You're surrounded now. You took the top 5 run defense and you added Hargrave and JA. How do you add that to a top 5 run defense? Right now, your pass defense, now you're saying, okay, now how can they affect the rush? You're talking about it's a front 7 that's where you got guys that know how to play, understand the system, and like, does that drop lower and get better? People don't realize our pass defense was like it was because Beefo didn't run the same scheme when we was up double digits or whatever. Like people think that people torched us for quarters. No. He wasn't as aggressive in the fourth quarter as he was throughout the whole game because he was playing things safe, and we allowed you to get all the underneath yards.
Yeah.
They gave that underneath, but they had to bend no break. They didn't break in the red zone. And when they were up, that's the way that they played, not to let things go over the top. So now you add a 7 that can really, put pressure on that interior. Theo, Rodgers, Murphy, Hitman, and whoever else, or Jeff throwing in there, whoever else they want to throw in there, I'm excited for him. I'm excited when people get the chance to get their opportunity, right?
Right.
But just take advantage of it. And he's not, there's what Kwesi and KOC have been building. I'm being honest, and this is just me honestly saying it, and you guys know that I'll be the first one to tell myself if I had worries. I'm not worried about any position on this team, offense or defense. If I had a concern, it would be, how do we flip the field better? How's our special teams, right? How is Will, he was so fantastic before his injury. How is Will coming out the gate? Like, those are my concerns. On offense, defense, zilch. Not one concern.
Yeah.
At any position.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Pat. But before I went overseas, I did a series of podcasts where I just broke down each unit, from the quarterback to the offensive line to the tight ends, defensive line, linebackers, secondary, special teams. And I evaluated each unit. And honestly, what's really scary about the Minnesota Vikings is obviously people look at the 14-3, 14-4 overall record last year, and then you just look at each unit and you grade each unit. I had a hard time finding any weakness really in any unit, and you can argue that pretty much every unit has gotten better. If there was any unit where I feel like you had a case to push back a little bit, is the secondary. I think the secondary has to go out and prove themselves. I mean, when you lose a Bynum and you lose a Stephon Gilmore, and you lose a Shaq Griffin. Those guys didn't have stellar seasons last year, but they were solid players. So now you're adding people to the secondary. Those guys have to go out and prove themselves. And then you have a guy like J.J. McCarthy, who I think is going to be box office. But again, he's got to go out and prove himself. I think it's safe to say that our quarterback room is better than it was last year with Nick Mullins and the guys, with the quarterbacks that we have in that room right now. I think our quarterback room is ready. But at every unit, I don't think the Minnesota Vikings have gotten worse. And you look at that 14-3 record, man. 14-3. And I know a lot of people are going to put pressure on J.J. McCarthy to be as good as 14-3 and better. And I'm not even looking at the record because honestly, I don't think the Minnesota Vikings are going to go 14-3. But I think they're going to be a better team. I think they're going to be a team that's better equipped to produce in the playoffs. I think they may have less wins this year. And that's not going to be because they're a worse team. I just think they got a really tough schedule. So you're going to get hit every now and then. But I think they're more equipped to make a playoff run. Think about this, Pat, and answer this question. Patrick Buchanan evaluating the Vikings. What's a successful season look like in your eyes for the 2025 Minnesota Vikings?
Successful season, making the playoffs, right? And winning a playoff game or two. Making the playoffs and winning a game or two. And here's like, people can sit up and say, this is, if you got to watch football and you got to understand football. This is nothing. I'm not saying we had, on paper, our schedule was very tough last year, but the overall win of teams where they finish, it wasn't as tough as this year's schedule. This year's schedule, after, like, I respect all the teams up into the tournament, but after the bye week, holy crap, for 5 straight weeks, it's holy crap. Like, it's not a breather, it's not nothing. It is holy crap. You're talking about, you're going to see Baltimore and Philly in that. You're going to see Super Bowl champions, playoff division winners. You're going to, because you went 14-3, that's what you're going to see. And but I think you need this type of schedule that they have this year, and success with this type of schedule, to be able to be prepared for the postseason. So me is at least when making the playoffs and getting at least a playoff W. Like, I'm not, if we win the division, if we are a top 2 seed, I would say top 3 seed, I would say, well, I expect us to be in the NFC Championship game, right?
Okay, yep.
But if we're a wild card team because of our schedule and someone's got in there because they didn't have it strong, I feel more confident going against them because we were challenged, right? But, like, that's, to me, that's honestly what I think they're going to do, right? I believe that they're going to be, and I'll say it, I believe they're still an 11-win team, right? 11-16. There's nothing wrong with 11-6, especially with the schedule they got.
I know. It's tough.
The schedule that they got at the 11-6 is, you're talking about the Detroit still twice. Chicago's going to be better. Like, the NFC North is the #1 division in all of football. So, okay, let's just say, I mean, those are 50-50 games right there, right? So you could end up being 3-3 in the division. That's 3-3. You still have to play, like, yeah, it's against B-Flow, but you still going to have to play Cincinnati Bengals. You talking about Joe Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, and Chase Brown? Like, that's tough.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
to play Baltimore. You got to play Philly. You got to play the Washington Redskins. Like, that's a playoff team.
Commanders. You got to say Commanders, Pat.
I mean, sorry, my bad. Washington Commanders. I'm sorry, man. I mean, Washington Commanders.
That's hard for me too, man. I still say it every now and then.
You got to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. What makes you think Mike Tomlin, who's never been under 500 as a coach, ain't going to be a tough game, whether it's overseas or not? Like, you have tough games to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
If those tough games, those playoff type teams, you know, you're at 500 and you're beating the teams that you're supposed to, then that's a 10-11 win season. And you make the playoffs, you're battle tested, you know, there it is.
Yeah. Success for me for this team, man, it's hard because we're coming off a really, really good season. But, you know, and it kind of hurts me to say this because it makes it seem like I'm being disparaging of the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm not. But I think 14-3 last year was really good. I just don't know if we were a 14-3 team. You know, once we had, I mean, essentially we lost to the same two teams twice, you know, so I think when it came to those type of adversity games, I think we fell a little bit short. I think part of that was because we didn't have that leader in the huddle that we needed to get through those adverse situations. Success for me looks like this for the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, playoff run goes without saying. But I want to see a top 5 defense from Brian Flores. As good as Brian Flores has been with guys that really didn't 1,000% fit his system, now he's got his boys. Now he's got his guys now. Year number 3.
Without a doubt. He got his guys.
Yeah. So top 5 defense, I want to see that. I want to see that from Brian Flores. We were one of the worst red zone teams in the league last year, specifically running the ball in the end zone. I want to see us be better at that. A lot of it, some of it was play calling, but a lot of it, we didn't have that offensive line. Now we've built that offensive line and we brought in a tank like Jordan Mason. So in the red zone, I want to see us be better in the red zone. That is because that's going to, the byproduct of that is going to be success in wins and losses. Once we get down there, we've got to produce. And then I want to see at some point during the season, and I'm not saying he's got to be Pat Mahomes or Joe Burrows or Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying that. But at some point, I want to see glimpses of J.J. McCarthy being the guy, being the franchise guy. I want to see that. To me, that's 2025 success for the Minnesota Vikings. And the last thing, here's what I'll say about the playoffs. Those first 5 games, I love the Minnesota Vikings schedule because I think the Minnesota Vikings, if we are that team, if we are legit, I think we have a really good chance at going 5-0. And I'm not putting pressure on KOC or JJ McCarthy. It just is what it is. Like, I think if we're good, we're going to go 5-0. At worst, I think we're 4-1. Like, when we come out of that stretch, at worst, we got to be 4-1. I think Aaron Rodgers going to the Steelers, that makes that game a little bit tougher, Pat. But I still think we can win that game because if you come out of there 3-2, 2-3, 1-4, and you got the gauntlet waiting for you after that bye week, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens, if you've got the gauntlet waiting for you and you don't do your work in that first 5 games, man, I think it's going to be tough to make the playoffs. So those first 5 games is really, really important for the Minnesota Vikings. That is my package of success for the Minnesota Vikings 2025.
Yeah, that's a good package, good thing to have. I think I mean, we're going to see a lot of good things and great things to achieve from them. So, yeah, I think it's going to be good.
Well, Pat, we gotta get you on because the chemistry is still there. We talked about a lot of stuff tonight. We got to continue to follow this Minnesota Vikings team especially through training camp. You know, we got to keep assessing this team. I think the Minnesota Vikings is going to have a really, really good year. I appreciate you coming on tonight, hobnobbing, rubbing elbows with UP Nation, Purple Nation, the Purple Gang. I know members of the Purple Gang are talking about, man, where's that guy you used to do the show with? Patrick Buchanan is back in the house. So, Pat, Thanks for coming back on the show, man. Really appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate having me on the show. It feels good to be back. Hey, what was it last week we was talking? I said, hey, I'm ready, right? I told you, and you fly back. Well, let's get on, right?
Let's get
End
it
of the
on.
day, I'm gonna make it work. So yeah, I appreciate having me back. It's that time of the season. I look forward to being able to get on here as much as possible. This rest of the summer and into the fall. With both of us in new positions in the winter, we'll see how things work out as we're going to be grinding as we always do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, this is Unconventional Playbook, and again, hit that like and subscribe button. It helps keeps us in the algorithm and helps us continue to pump out that content. It only takes a second. Big things coming up for Unconventional Playbook. Again, on Sunday, we are going to have rap vocal Vike coming in to talk a little bit of Minnesota Vikings football. I've been on his show a couple of times. For those of you guys who don't know Rap and Vocal Vike, man, check out the Vocal Vike podcast. Rap does a fantastic job. One of the most in tuned, insightful podcasters out there when it comes to Minnesota Vikings football. So check Rap out. He'll be here on Sunday for the first time on Unconventional Playbook. He's a busy man, but he's making time for Unconventional Playbook. And we are going to have some special guests coming on later on throughout training camp. But we'll announce those when those come about to let you guys know. But again, Patrick Buchanan, back in the fold. Thanks for being on the show. We'll be seeing a lot more Patrick Buchanan going forward. But for Patrick and myself, this has been Unconventional Playbook, and we will make sure to see ya when we see ya. Skol!